Good morning, everyone. Life is a problem. If you agree, can I see a show of hands? Well, if you live in Nigeria and you did not raise your hand, then I think you have a problem. So basically, the problem with this problem called life is that you don't have any specific answers. Like you can't just look in a book and say, this is the answer, this is how to do it. You solved like maybe 100 problems before you got here. What to wear, what your hair looked like, how to cross the road, how to open your car. Some of these problems are routine. You've been solving them over and over again, so you got used to them. But you have been solving problems since you were born. I remember my first problem as a human being was how to walk. So I observed the adults around me walking, and they seemed to do it so easily. I was crawling at that time, and I was like, I just have to imitate so that I can feel among. So try, just take a step, you're almost falling down, you're going this way, and no one wrote a book to teach me how to do. Even if you wrote, I wouldn't have learned it or read it. But somehow I had to solve this problem by being creative. And all I just told you was nonsense because I don't remember how to solve the problem of walking. I was too young then, and you guys all believe me. And I think my point has been made that even before you become conscious of yourself, you are solving problems creatively. And how does this work? How do we reach inside and solve these problems? Because if you do not solve a problem, you will not exist. You won't even survive. So I'm here to talk about my experience in solving problems. I first became conscious of this when I was in secondary school, what some people will call high school. And there are a lot of problems in secondary school. I'm not sure if people understand because maybe you have left there for some time. But I want to take your minds back to when I was choosing a career. This is around SS1, and you now have to choose subjects. Your parents come and ask you. Some parents don't even ask. They just tell you, do this subject, do that one. And I was confused. I actually wanted to do food and nutrition. I didn't really want to be an engineer. I was interested in the smells that kept coming from the lab, and I wanted to go in there, and I heard they always ate food, 3-course meals, cake and things, and that was my interest. But my parents were like, my mom especially was like, no, you must do further maths. And they bought this book, Further Maths, and I never liked maths as a child. In fact, my mom used to do all my assignments for me until primary 2. And then here was this maths book in front of me. They bought it before we resumed, so I looked through the book. I went to the first page, integers and numbers. So there are real numbers, there are irrational numbers, there are complex numbers. I thought it's just 1, 2, 3, 4, and I was seeing -1, -2, -3. I was totally scared, and I told them, please, save your money. Before the bookseller says you cannot return it, please return the book because I'm not going to use this. I'm not going to do this subject. And they tried to encourage me. And the problem with that was I was the firstborn, so there's nobody to run to say, brother, how can we solve this problem? My dad did further maths in school, but he had left that far behind. My mom, of course, was not so into the maths. She learned the primary school one, but not this one, not this type. So if I ran into any problems, I would be totally on my own, and I wasn't in the mood for that. But they encouraged me. They said, go ahead, do it. Other girls are doing it, you know? You're a man, you should. So I just decided to try. I failed that first year. I surprised myself. I didn't get 23 or 13. At least I got some marks, but I failed. But the next year, when it was SS2, they bought these same books for me again. My parents always bought books like in advance. And then I started looking through them without the initial fear. I just flipped through it. I didn't even take it seriously. But I found out that when I got in class, it was no longer Greek. Somehow I'd seen it before, and it was familiar. I could ask questions, I could interact with the lecturer, and I was like, this thing is not so difficult after all. And that was where I learned my first thing about creativity, that before you solve a problem creatively, you must have seen it before. You may not realize it, but you've seen the problem before in another form. Somehow you watch your environment without realizing. Your brain takes in all this information, and then when the time comes to solve it creatively, you think you invented the solution, but you actually saw it before, and it just came out of you as if you were the one that first initiated it. And I believe life is just a series of imitations. There is nothing new under the sun. There's nothing you want to do that hasn't been done before. Check it. Is it the plants? Is it the bees? Is it the wind? Is it magnetism? Is it electricity? Everything has been done before. All you have to do is open your eyes, observe, and apply it in your normal lives. So when I got this trick, I started reading all my books in advance. Before the lecturer comes, I'll go into the book, look at it, look through it, even if I don't understand it. And then my grades improved, and further maths became my favorite subject. Even when other people would complain, I didn't complain. Somehow I broke that barrier, and then I became an engineer. Of course, you know, engineering has to do a lot with mathematics. And I like encouraging young children, especially when you see a child that doesn't like maths. It's not because it's difficult. It's this negative impression, and that barrier, you have to break it. And I use myself as an example, like, if I could do maths, anybody can do maths, because my case was really terrible. Yes. So another thing about solutions and problem solving is, like, they're very easy, very simple, very obvious, right in front of you, but you cannot see it. Somehow your mind is blank. You're just looking for it in one particular area. As Obasanjo said, what you're looking for in Sokoto could be inside your Shokoto, but you don't know because you're not expecting to find it there. And that's another thing that solving a lot of problems gives you. If you keep solving the same kind of problem, your mind becomes attuned to finding particular kinds of solutions. So if your new solution does not look like what you are familiar with, you will miss it. And which is another thing I learned about creativity, that we should keep solving different problems. Don't just be a good dancer, or don't just be a good fashion designer, or don't just be a good mathematician. Do something different. Broaden your scope. Even if it doesn't seem to be relevant to you, just go ahead and learn it. Like, I am a man, and people say men are not supposed to be interested in fashion, but there are a lot of things to learn from fashion. You can see, okay, this lady, her heels do not match her bag, and this and that. I may not always say it, because if I say it, people will say, oh, what's wrong with this? But I have to look and observe, and who knows, maybe in my computer programs or something, I may just say, okay, this, and pull something from there. And then all these things come together, and we do not know how the brain works, but somehow they come together and your problems get solved from nowhere. Another thing I found out is that you tend to be distracted from creativity by just mundane living. Have you observed children in the playground before? Like, I would love us to go to a playground, or even children at normal play, when they have this, their children, they have this, their dolls, and they're acting drama. They actually write the script on, like, spontaneously. Say, this one said to this one, that one said to that one. And you can sit for 30 minutes and observe these children acting Nollywood film, just from scratch. And then I find out that children are less distracted. They don't think of what to eat. They're not thinking of what to wear, or when to go to bed, or when to brush. And when I started having problems to solve, I found out that these things were the things that were distracting me the most. Why do you think a lot of adults lose their creativity as they grow up? If I told you to sit down with two toys now and begin to form a drama, I'm sure you would not be able to do it. I could test any two of you here. But you find out that you have all sorts of other problems distracting you from creativity, what to do, what to wear. And I was happy when I got married, because somehow, you guys have already completed the story for me, so I'm not going to go there. But there's this thing about executives and having PAs who can handle their mundane stuff. Having someone you can delegate regular, repetitive, dull, boring tasks to. It has to be done, but you as the creative person do not have to do that. You are doing your organization a disservice if, instead of focusing your mind on creative solutions, you're being distracted by mundane, boring, and repetitive stuff. Nigerians don't normally see the value of teaching other people how to do stuff. But this is one big value I'd like to point out, because if you teach those below you the regular mundane stuff, and they can help take that off you, then of course you can focus your mind towards solving more relevant problems. And then sometimes you're stuck in this mundane life. It's negative, it tends to restrain you. Some experiments were conducted with insects. Don't go looking for this on the internet. But these insects were known to jump at a particular height. They keep jumping, jumping, jumping. But then a glass ceiling was put over these insects, and then every time they jump, they bounce against that ceiling and fall back, bounce. And then even when the glass ceiling was removed, those insects would not jump higher than that height. And that's the danger of doing something that you do not like, something that's negative, something that hampers you all the time. So if you find yourself caught in that kind of negative cycle, you have to break it. You just have to. You have to do something that gets you happy. You have to find a hobby. You have to find something that gives you confidence in your abilities. Sometimes you can do it, but you don't know you can do it, so you don't even bother trying. But if you're doing something that you're good at, something that gives you that self-confidence that you can do something. I may not be good at maths, but I'm good at table tennis. I may not be good at sewing, but I'm good at dancing. And I find out that some parents restrict their children from extracurricular activities. Go and read your books. Go and read your books. What are you doing there outside, playing in the sun with football? Go and read your books. But what if the books are not making sense to the poor boy? You want him to keep burying his head in the books, even if it's not making sense, and then all of a sudden, the person is dull, and you're wondering, why is this my child so dull? Maybe it's the things that he was playing with, that you stopped him from playing with, that would have made him brilliant, and you've killed that by insisting that he keeps doing something that he doesn't like and that he keeps failing at. I said, I'm not going to keep doing something that I'm failing at. But it's a nice toy. Maybe one day I'll pick it up again and just learn how to solve it. So far, I can only solve one phase. And this brings us to another part of my story, because it's more like when I was solving this cube, I would think about it every day. Even when I was sleeping, I would think about, dream about this cube, and it's turning, and it's turning. When I wake up, the first thing I do, I'll go and pick the cube and try it. Oh, it didn't work. I have to go and sleep again and try to dream again. How come that works that way? Because somehow when you sleep, your brain is settled. There are no distractions, nobody is looking at you, and you'll be surprised the things you think about just before you sleep, you may dream about them. That's why I think that's the origin of the statement, go and sleep on it. Because it's more like, oh, I can't really give you an answer now, but if I think about it before I sleep and I sleep on it, maybe when I wake up, I'll have an answer. And so I found out that in school, when I had difficult subjects, I said, this one is a sleeping matter. I'm not going to bother with you now. And then by 10 o'clock, I'll just pick the book, flip through it, read it. Even if I fail, it doesn't matter. But when I wake up in the morning, I think I know the solution to this problem. Let me go and do it. That's another way of enhancing creativity. And then the last part of creativity, which I would like to speak about, is very strange. It's called overthinking. Do you realize that you can think about a problem so much that you can't solve it? And you're even prevented from trying to solve it because you've analyzed it too much. Sometimes it's good not to even know the problems in the problem you're going to face. Some problems, you run at them with all your energy, and then you find out that just before you solve them, you give up. But you wouldn't know that if you had put in a little bit more effort, you would have succeeded. But just because you are aware that there are so many problems involved, you now rush at it, and then you give up halfway. It would have been better if you didn't even know, and then you just rushed at it with all your strength and just went out and did it. And then maybe you would have had a breakthrough, and you wouldn't have given up so close to the end. So for me, I find out that when I'm trying to solve a problem, and I'm thinking about it too much. It could be a business you want to start. It could be a new venture you want to go into. Just start it. You learn by doing it. You just do it over and over. You find out the good ways to do it and the bad ways to do it. And then you discover that it wasn't as difficult as you thought it was going to be when you were thinking about it on your bed. So I would like to summarize just by saying that the person who has seen the most problems, the most different types of problems, is the most creative person. We should try and observe our environments, try and sleep on things, try and let things soak, and then not do things that keep on hampering our creativity, find hobbies, things that we can be good at and feel proud about. And then, of course, what are you waiting for? Go ahead and do it. Thank you very much.